Welcome, Hoosier fans, to this Thursday edition of Banner Morning, your weekday rundown of IU basketball news and notes. I'm Jared Morris, host of the Assembly Call, and we're 2 days away from Indiana's next chance to get a win. In upcoming game day news, Indiana travels to Minneapolis this weekend to take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers in the Barn. The game will tip at 2 Eastern and be televised on ESPN2. Minnesota entered Wednesday night's action 16-8 overall and 6-7 in conference play. They played at Nebraska last night in the late game. As of Wednesday evening, the KenPom prediction for the game was a 69-67 victory for Minnesota, with Indiana having a 43% chance of victory. The Barn has often been referred to as a house of horrors for Indiana, perhaps as a lingering effect of the 1994 team's infamous 50-point drubbing there. But Indiana has actually fared relatively well at Williams Arena in recent seasons. Indiana is 3-3 in its last 6 games at Minnesota, dating back to 2012, with an overall scoring margin of plus 19. Given this program's struggles on the road in Big Ten play over the last decade plus, I'll take it. In terms of the matchup, we'll talk about keys to victory on this week's edition of Assembly Call Radio, which you can watch live tonight, starting at 9 Eastern at assemblycall.com. But here are 3 things that you need to know about Minnesota. 1, their biggest weakness is shooting at all levels. Minnesota is 267th nationally in effective field goal percentage. They also don't shoot free throws well. 2, they try to compensate for their poor shooting with offensive rebounding and by shooting a high volume of free throws, led by rebounding monster Jordan Murphy. 3, on defense, they don't force a lot of turnovers, but they are above average in reducing opponent assist rates. The Hoosiers will need to stay patient and active against Minnesota's defense. And here's an interesting statistical nugget. Much has been made of Indiana's poor starts to games, but the bigger issue may be Indiana's complete reversal in how they start second halves. In Indiana's 8 games against top 100 competition prior to the first Michigan game, the Hoosiers were outscored by a total of 23 points during the first 10 minutes of first halves. But during the first 10 minutes of second halves, Indiana outscored its opponents by 23 points. In the Hoosiers' 10 games against top 100 competition since then, they have been outscored by 42 points during the first 10 minutes of first halves, so similar to before. But during the first 10 minutes of second halves, Indiana has been outscored by a whopping 56 points, including 4 instances in which the Hoosiers were outscored by double digits. So yes, Indiana needs to get better at the start of games, but it's the reversal of Indiana's second half starts that has been even more problematic during the losing skid. For the links mentioned in this edition of Banner Morning, visit assemblycall.com, and remember to use the URL iutickets.shop to visit SeatGeek for the best prices on IU basketball tickets. We'll be back on Monday with a brand new edition of Banner Morning. Until then, keep your elbows in and your eyes on the rim, and go Hoosiers.